So just start seated, find a seated position. Sit up nice and tall. And if it's safe and comfortable for you, you can close the eyes. And just start to tune in. Arrive here in your body this morning. Taking a moment to take inventory of your physical body. Notice any little pockets of tension, or even pockets of anxious energy, right? Sometimes we hold anxiety somewhere in our hips, shoulders, just feelings of jitteriness. Just go ahead and notice. And see if you can let go just a little bit. See if you can release this tension. And start to allow that anxious energy to disperse as you breathe. Start to cultivate a nice, deep, slow breath. This is going to be really important at the beginning of our practice today as we take some slow stretches. So take a nice, big inhale through the nose. Fill up the lungs completely. And then sigh it out. Beautiful, nice, big inhale. And sigh it out. Continue like this a few more times, actively releasing this tension. Calling in a little bit of gratitude this morning. What is it in your day that maybe you're not that excited about? Reflect a little bit as you continue to breathe nice and deeply here. Can you add a little bit of gratitude into these activities or events that maybe aren't the most fun? And then taking a moment to appreciate the things in our lives that we are so very grateful for. The simple things, the things that we typically forget about. Let your breath become natural here. Just take a moment and focus all of your energy on gratitude before we start to move. And when you're ready, allow your eyes to open and just start to take some nice slow circles with the head, rolling out the neck here. And if your legs are starting to go numb, you can switch the cross of them. Always a good idea. Make these circles as big or as small as you'd like. We hold a lot of tension in our neck, especially after we wake up. Go ahead, switch directions. And go ahead and come back to center here. Beautiful. And go ahead and bring your legs nice and wide. So if you want to sit on a blanket to elevate the hips a little bit, that's fine. Or maybe a block or a pillow, but bring your legs out nice and wide. Flex your toes towards you and let the knees be soft. So you don't want your legs to be completely straight. You don't want to lock out the knees. The knees are going to be really soft, and just bring your hands in front of you. Take a nice deep breath as you lengthen the spine, sit up nice and tall. As you exhale, walk the hands forward just a tiny bit, keeping your hips glued down to whatever it is you're sitting on. Pause here for a moment. And then inhale, lengthen the spine, lift the chest just a tiny bit, micro movement. Exhale, fold a little bit deeper until you reach your edge. So until you can't fold anymore. And then just pause here. If it's accessible to you, you can bring your hands onto a pillow or a blanket or even the ground. Keep flexing your toes towards you, right? And keep taking nice, deep, slow breaths. And just bring your awareness to your hamstrings. As we stretch in this forward fold, our hamstrings are a little uncomfortable, right? This is where the stretch is. So just see if you can send a little bit of gratitude there. Recognizing that this is good, this is healthy, as long as you're not feeling any pain. You can even let your head hang. Roll out the head. But see if you can just be present here. And see if you can take 5 more deep breaths, focusing really hard on your breathing. This might be uncomfortable for you. We don't often do things without being distracted. 3 more breaths. On your last breath, slowly start to walk your hands back in towards the body. So this is kind of a mini yin stretch flow. In yin yoga, we hold poses for 2 to 3 minutes. Here we're doing it for about a minute. Go ahead and bring your right hand to your right shin. Or if you're a little bit more flexible, you can bring your forearm right to the inside of your right shin. Wherever you are, reach your left arm up towards the sky and just start to side bend over towards that right leg. Keeping your left hip nice and planted on the ground here. So if you need to take a minute and press your left hip down, do so, and then reach your left arm back up towards the sky and over towards that right foot. Take a nice deep breath in. As you exhale, maybe bend a little bit deeper. So this isn't about reaching that right foot, right? We don't want to wrench ourselves into anything that's uncomfortable or hurts our body. It's really just about getting long in the left side of your body. So just be conscious of that, right? Instead of just focusing on the destination, right? Like finding the fullest expression of this pose, maybe just think of the benefits of staying right here. Take 3 nice deep breaths. Beautiful. And slowly start to bring your left hand back down, come up to center here. And just switch over to the other side, bring your left hand down to your shin, or you can bring the forearm down to the ground, reach the right arm up towards the sky. Slowly start to bend over towards that left foot. Again, you can press that right hip down if you need to. Reach that right hand over towards that left foot. Keep flexing the toes towards you, protecting the knee joint here. Beautiful. Take a few breaths here. Really nice. and slowly start to come back up. You can just take your hands behind you, lift your chest, maybe roll out the neck once more here. When you're ready, start to make your way into a tabletop position. You can grab a quick drink before you go. If you have sensitive knees, I recommend putting a blanket underneath your knees just for a little bit of extra cushioning. Find a tabletop here. We're going to move into a little bit more of a vinyasa flow. But go ahead and tuck your toes. So usually we keep our feet flat and table. Today we're going to tuck our toes under. See if you can get your toes all the way under. You might need to scooch them underneath the balls of your feet. Take a nice big inhale as you come into cow. So scoop the heart forward, look up. As you exhale, come into cat, round the spine, and then sink the hips onto the toes here, onto the heels, and just rock back and forth. This might feel really intense at first, but it's really good for your feet. So just take it easy. It doesn't have to be really crazy, intense stretch. Just do as much as you can. And we're just going to flow back and forth. So as you inhale, come forward into your cow. Keep the toes tucked. Exhale, cat, and sink the hips. Rock back and forth a little. Inhale, come forward to cow. And exhale, round the spine, sink the hips. Just move with your own breath here. And if there's other movements that you'd rather do, or if you don't like tucking your toes, make this your own. Whatever you feel like doing today. Take 2 more on your own. If your toes are starting to feel it, that's okay. We're almost done. When you're done with your last one, come back into table and untuck the toes. You can even tap the feet out a little bit. Walk the knees wide and take a child's pose here. So sink the hips, walk the hands forward, and let the head fall. Then we're going to do a little modified thread the needle here. So keep your hips sinking down towards the heels. If your hips are really tight, you can always put a blanket or a block underneath your seat to elevate the hips a little bit. But go ahead and bring the right hand and thread the needle under the left shoulder. Let the right cheek come down to the mat. So your right hand is threading through underneath the left shoulder. So finding a nice gentle twist, and if you want more of a twist, press into the back of the right hand, open up the left shoulder towards the sky. Really nice. Take a few breaths here. Go ahead and bring the right hand back in front of you and thread the left hand through underneath the right shoulder this time. Then replace that left hand and go ahead and make your way back into your table. Resetting the knees underneath the hips. And just sway the hips from side to side, waking up the hips again. Really nice. Beautiful. Take whatever movement feels good. And when you're ready, go ahead and make your way into your downward dog. So tuck the toes, lift the hips, and take some movement here. I want you to really take some expressive movement. So really bend the knees, maybe shake the head. Starting to move a little bit more fluidly here. Now that our body's a little bit more woken up, we're going to take a few really gentle sun salutations. Go ahead, start to walk your feet forward to meet the hands. Fold at the top of the mat. Let your torso hang over the knees and the feet. On an inhale, halfway lift, press your hands into the shins as you lift the head and the neck. Exhale, fold forward, bending the knees as much as you need to here. And then slowly, being really gentle here, start to come all the way up to stand. Reach up towards the sky. As you exhale, bring your hands to heart center. So our first standing pose here. Just really press down through the feet. Notice how the hips feel. Squeeze the shoulders back and down. On the inhale, reach up towards the sky. Exhale, fold forward over the legs. Inhale, halfway lift. On the exhale, plant the hands and step the left foot back into a lunge here. Drop down the knee, untuck the toes. So you're in your low lunge, right foot's forward. On the inhale, reach up towards the sky. Finding your fullest expression of your low lunge. So from here you have a few options. You can stay right here, clasp the hands at the low spine. You can come into more of a back bend if that feels good. Or if this is a lot for you this morning, you can bring your hands onto your knee and just hang out right here. So a few options, whatever feels good for you today. Take 3 deep breaths, wherever you are. And then if you clasped your hands at the low spine, release it. Plant the left hand down, right arm reaches up towards the sky. Come into your low lunge twist. So if you need to modify this, feel free to. If you want to make it a little bit more challenging, you can reach back for that back foot. Whatever you're feeling this morning. Take one more breath here. On the exhale, bring your right hand down to the mat. Go ahead, walk your hands to the inside of the feet and pivot your toes into a wide-legged fold. So if you need to look up here, your feet are nice and wide, they're pointing forward, and you're folding to the inside of the legs. Just go ahead and take a minute to just let your whole body hang forward. You can let your head hang. If you have a blanket, move it to the opposite end of your yoga mat to pad your knees. And then listen carefully. We're gonna go ahead and walk our hands towards the back of our mat. Pivot your toes to face the back of the mat. Come into your low lunge, facing the opposite way. So this time your left foot's forward. Your right knee is down on your blanket, and you're in your low lunge, facing the back of your mat. Go ahead, reach your arms up towards the sky. This probably means that your computer and my voice is behind you. That's fine. We're doing the same thing that we did on the other side. So go ahead and choose which one you'd like. You can bring your hands behind your back. You can bring your hands onto your knee, whatever you need. Just take a few breaths here. And when you're ready, go ahead and bring your right hand down to the mat. Left hand reaches up towards the sky for your twist. Again, if you want to get really fancy, you can reach for that back foot. One more breath here. Go ahead and bring your left hand down to the mat. Walk your hands to the inside of the legs. Again, finding that wide-legged forward fold. Take an inhale here. And exhale, fold forward. Let the heart melt down towards the ground. If you'd like to modify or take a different variation of this forward fold, go ahead. We'll be here for about 3 more breaths. Bring your hands back down in front of you. Go ahead, walk your hands towards the front of your mat. Pivot all 10 toes to face the front of your mat. And just step back into your downward dog. You can bring your blanket back underneath your knees. Find your downward dog and just shake it out here. Really nice. Go ahead, drop the knees down to the ground, finding your table. We're going to come into our puppy pose. So if you don't like puppy and you want to take child's pose instead, feel free to. But our puppy pose, going to keep your hips right over top of the knees, walk your hands forward, melt the heart down towards the ground. You can let your forehead rest on the mat. But really think about pressing your shoulders down, nice shoulder opening here. Just take a few breaths. Notice if you're having trouble staying present. And go ahead and slowly start to walk your hands back, sit back on your heels so that you're sitting back on your knees here. Walk your hands all the way back towards your feet and lift your chest. Let your head fall back behind you if that's okay for your neck. Just a nice shoulder, chest, heart opener right now. And then slowly, when you're ready, just start to make your way onto your back. Doesn't have to be fancy. If you have a blanket, I recommend putting it underneath your knees. So just fold it up, put it wherever your knees are going to be. You can take a sip of coffee or tea or whatever. Go ahead, roll all the way onto your back. Hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a nice squeeze. And go ahead, reach your feet up towards the sky. Just straight up towards the sky for our legs up the wall. Flex your toes towards you. If you'd like to take this further and take your shoulder stand, feel free to take your shoulder stand. But if you're in legs up the wall, just close your eyes. Notice the sensations in your legs in this pose. This is a really calming pose. It's a nice gentle inversion. And the final pose I'm going to offer to you today is half happy baby. So you're going to bring your left foot, plant it down on the mat or the blanket. Go ahead and grab your right pinky toe or your right big toe with your right peace fingers. So right hand reaches to right foot. Bend the right knee towards the armpit. So finding your happy baby, but just on one side. And I recommend keeping the left knee bent, but you can always straighten that leg if that's a little bit better for you. And just rock back and forth. And if you don't feel this in the hip as much as you would like to, you can always just hug the knee into the chest and rock from side to side. So just explore a little bit what feels good for you. And then go ahead, release that foot. Plant the right foot on the mat and grab your left foot, finding your happy baby on the opposite side here. Again, you can straighten that right leg if you want. And just think about really pulling that knee in towards the shoulder. So if you can imagine, if I'm flipped over on my yoga mat, I'm in lizard pose right now, right? I'm in lizard lunge. So see if you can get that knee to line up with that shoulder. And if you're not feeling this at all, again, you can hug the right or the left knee into the chest. And just take a few breaths. And if you want to go ahead and take a full happy baby, you can. Or if there's another pose that's calling to you, maybe you want to take a twist, an inversion, whatever you feel like today. Today I'm going to offer sort of a modified Shavasana. So if you want to take traditional Shavasana, start to make your way there. If not, we're going to take Supta Baddha Konasana. Be careful not to spill anything. Bring the soles of the feet together, let the knees fall apart, and I recommend bringing your feet and your legs onto your blanket. And just let the knees come apart and really see if you can release control of the legs. Often in Supta Baddha Konasana, we're still engaging our core, our legs are still kind of holding themselves up. See if you can completely release, and if this isn't accessible to you, start to scoot the feet forward. And then if that's really uncomfortable, just straighten out the legs. You can bring one hand onto your belly, one hand onto your heart. And let your body become heavy. And really think about relaxing the mind here. It's first thing in the morning. We have a whole day ahead of us. It's only natural for thoughts to creep into your mind and try to take over your awareness. But see if you can really give yourself permission here. Permission to take these last few minutes of class to not worry or think or try to control anything. Begin to deepen your breath. Take a few deep breaths, just releasing any excess tension, any residual stress. When you're ready, start to move. And if your legs are in Supta Baddha Konasana, bring your hands to your knees first. Hug your knees into your chest. Roll over onto one side and press yourself up to sit whenever you're ready. Finding a comfortable seat. Bringing your hands to heart center to end our practice today. So I invite you to just take one more moment at the end of this class to find a little bit of gratitude. Maybe that's gratitude in the little small joys in your day, like your morning coffee, or your kids, or your dogs, something that you take for granted. Take a nice deep breath in through your nose and sigh it out. Allow your eyes to open when you're ready. Thank you so much for practicing with me today, allowing me to guide your practice. The light in me honors and recognizes the light in all of you. Namaste.